Welcome into a brand new Patriots Hub podcast. Alex, Barth, Matt Dolloff with you ahead of the Patriots matchup against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Week 3 already. This is kind of nuts, Dolloff, but here we are. Week 3 of the season. And I just want to start here. The Patriots have a chance to do something that they have not done in multiple senses since the 2022 season. So I'm going to give you some numbers. The Patriots have not, outside of the season opening win last year, like more than one week into the season.
I know where you're going with this. Go.
One game into the season. The Patriots, let me build some drama here. Hang on. Don't rush me. Let me build some drama. Well, now you've ruined it. The Patriots with a win would be over 500 for the first time beyond week 1 of a season since week 14 of the 2022 season. That was a Monday night game. They won against the Arizona Cardinals. If you remember, they had a scoop and score fumble recovery. Raekwon McMillan. I think that was the game Kyler Murray blew his knee out. They also have a chance to win back-to-back games for the first time since they won 3 in a row. They beat the Jets in week 8 of that season, the Colts in week 9, then had the bye, and then came back and beat the Jets again. So before I get your reaction, Dolph, I just want to give you Mike Vrabel's reaction to this when he was asked, because I loved this. So Mike Vrabel got asked this week, it's been 3 years since this team put together back-to-back wins. How important is it to the culture to get some momentum by stringing wins together? And I paraphrase there, but Mike Vrabel will give you the exact answer. Quote, "It's always important to win as many games as you possibly can. There's a lot of stats here, guys, that I'm not familiar with, nor am I concerned with. The focus is trying to build some consistency, which would then lead to confidence and continue to build on what we did, improve the things that we have to fix, and on and on. So I'm excited about doing that today through meetings and practice and get them ready for a new opponent, just like we did last week." I freaking love that from Vrabel. He's like, that wasn't me. That was not this program. That's not what we did. We're just trying to win 1 week at a time. It would be nice for this team to win back-to-back games again. It's a box that they have to check. You're probably not going to make the playoffs if you never at any point during the season win back-to-back games. Best case scenario, you finish 9-8. And then you're maybe sneaking in. I love that Vrabel right away shot that down and was like, nope, not worried about it. We're just trying to win this week. Don't make it more than it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I thought you were going to say that the question was more about, like, did you know that the last time this team won that? I thought he was going to be like, nah, I don't care what happened 4 years ago. I thought it was going to be something like that, slapping down the previous era before him. But
well, that's basically what he said. There's a lot of stats I don't know, and frankly, I don't care.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I guess that's where he went with it. But yeah, like it's you got to let go of the past. We got to let go of the past as much as we can. This is a new era, whole new coaching staff. They turned over a whole bunch of the roster. And I know, like, we tend to see some things that are cropping up that feel familiar, like the pre-snap penalties and things like that. But it's part of the new era. It's not really connected to the past. I know, like, some of the roster was turned over, but this is a whole new team, whole new culture, and all that. It's crazy to think, Bart, that they were 5-4 at one point in that 2022 season. That season felt like it was hopeless the way it went, especially on the offensive side of the ball. And obviously, it feels like maybe offensively they're finally starting to make progress. Speaking of 2022, last week was the first time they scored 30 points total. I know they only scored 26, I think, offensively, because they had the punt return, the kick return touchdown. But they got over 30 points, for the first time since that season. And look, again, upper 20s, and Drake Maye can play like he did last week. They can win a bunch of games. I know the defense has been shaky, but I don't think the defense is going to be giving up 30 points every single week. They could win a lot of games, 27-17, 27-20. Like, if they can score, they can move the ball. Drake Maye's not turning the ball over. Like, they're going to be in this thing. And this Steelers game is a great opportunity for them to sort of make a pivot point in the season. They win this game. They win back-to-back games for the first time since 2022. They go over 500 for the first time in 3 years, other than the 1-0 start. That could be a real pivot point, and, like, we're going to start building some forward momentum here. And so you really hope they don't take a step back. And I don't think they're going to take a step back. Like, I think the Steelers could definitely come in here and win on Sunday, but I don't see this being like a huge step back in terms of how it looks. I think they're going to be competitive. I think they're starting to sort of settle in there, and they're starting to get behind Vrabel. And so I think the message is getting through. It's just a matter of, are they going to be coordinated? Are they going to have a good plan? And are they going to actually execute? But I do think they're pulling in the right direction. And I think that's why it feels like they're going in the right direction. And that's why they have a chance to do things that they haven't done in a few years.
And for that to happen, obviously they have to beat the Steelers team. You mentioned the offense. And I think big picture, both sides, like there are some elements of the Patriots and Steelers that I think are in common. The offenses have been, one great performance, one not so great performance. Both defenses have been atrocious. The Steelers actually have more missed tackles, depending on which metric you look. Some places have the Patriots with the most missed tackles. I think Pro Football Reference actually has the Steelers with the most missed tackles as a team. We'll get into missed tackles in a little bit. I want to dive a little deeper into that number because I think there's context that's important in why that's an issue and how they maybe go about fixing it. Honestly, you could say it's two teams that are kind of holding their breath about the quarterback situation. Now, going in opposite directions, of course. With Drake Maye, it's, okay, we think he's the guy, but he's young. Let's see him continue to be the guy. And then with Aaron Rodgers, it's, we've seen him be the guy, but he's old. Can he continue to be the guy? Because there's some things he does that look like old school Aaron Rodgers, and there's some parts of his game that you see the age in. So I think it's a good measuring stick for the Patriots. I think it's a game that's winnable. I don't know that it's a game that, and they're not favored. I don't know that it's a game that they should be favored. I think the line it's been moving a lot this week. Last I checked, I can pull it up. I think it's been around a field goal, which is probably about right. But this is a game the Patriots should be able to win, especially to get back to where you were talking about, if they play the way they played last week on offense. It's another defense that struggled. It's a defense that has talent and has not played up to that talent, kind of like Miami's. And it's going to be interesting to see how they call it. We have sample A, which is that Raiders game, which was a lot of gap run, a lot of very conservative passing, a lot of stationary pockets. And then you have the Dolphins game where they go more to the outside zone. They build bootleg off that, play action. We saw them go heavy personnel quite a bit, 21, 12, 22. And okay, let's tiebreaker. Which one is it? Or is it a third thing? Do we see another offense? And we know Josh McDaniels is a game plan coach, so it's not going to look identical, but he was asked today on Thursday if he liked the balance better between the two. And he said, yes. So for week 2. So I wonder if we see more of what they did against the Dolphins, which I think should absolutely be the case, Dolph.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're going to see a balance. I think there's going to be different game plans week to week, but I think what we're going to see consistently is, hopefully, is the things that Drake Maye does well. And I think what we saw in that opening drive last week, which was thrown out over the middle, rolling out and hitting Mac Hollins on that bootleg touchdown pass, those are the kinds of things that Drake Maye can do well. And so you hope that Josh McDaniels continues to build stuff like that into the game plan. I do like the idea that they could run gap or zone in the run game. I think I would love it if they could just base that on the opponent. Like the Dolphins last week, we talked about it on the radio before the game. I think this is kind of a soft defense. I don't think they believe in what's going on internally. Just run it right down their throat. And so that's sort of what we saw in that game. This team, you might want to spread this Steelers defense out a little more. That pass rush, you might want to spread them out. Maybe throw horizontally a little more and then get rid of the ball as quick as you can. Because I know Alex Highsmith is out, but
Yep.
TJ Watt's still out there. You got to take care of him protection wise. Cameron Hayward is probably the best defensive tackle that they've faced so far this year. It's going to be the best challenge so far for a guy like Garrett Bradbury, who's had shockingly good pass protection performance so far this year. So I wonder if it's going to be quick game. I wonder if they're going to try to incorporate more of the things that they tried to incorporate in that Raiders game, passing wise, short game, quick game, things like that. But you really got to see some of that stuff that you saw in that opening drive in Miami to really make this offense work consistently. And the Steelers defense, man, I mean, they're basically the 4th worst defense in the league so far. They've allowed the 4th most points and the 4th most yards. And that was against, the Steelers, against the Jets week 1. And then last week against Seattle, look, they have a better offense than the Jets overall, I think. But it's not like they're facing world beaters there. And they've been getting shredded up and down the field. And so Josh McDaniels is a guy that historically he knows what to do when he goes up against this Steelers defense, which I don't think has been terribly different from what it's been over the years. And he knows how to beat man-to-man coverage. I think it was our friend Alan Lazar that tweeted they've been playing mostly man. And so I don't know if they'll switch that up. They're typically a do-what-they-do team on both sides of the ball. And so if they throw a lot of man-to-man coverage, throw some stacks in there, throw some crossing routes, he knows what to do to get guys open in those situations. It's really all about blocking it and Drake Maye making good decisions, getting rid of the ball quickly. And I think as long as McDaniels builds in the right plan, which I think he will, and as long as Maye can play, even close to what he did last Sunday, it might be a little much to ask for him to do that every week at this stage of his career. But if he could play something close to what he did last Sunday, like I think they're going to be in really good shape.
So a couple things to what you said also, by the way, as we're recording this, Patriots 1.5 point underdogs in this game.
Oh, okay.
To your point about throwing horizontally and getting rid of the ball, I do wonder if that's the case, if we see more Pop Douglas in this game. And the Steelers have missed some tackles, so that could be a part of it. But you're going to need zone. You're going to need zone coverage. You're going to need man coverage to put Pop Douglas on the field. If the Steelers are going to sit in zone, that gets tougher. But if they do want to spread it out, maybe you see more Pop Douglas, because I think part of the reason he didn't play last week, he only played 15 snaps, was they wanted the heavier personnel. They wanted the run blockers on the field. And Mac Hollins is a run blocking wide receiver. Pop Douglas is not. Like, it's just that simple. That's not Pop Douglas's strength. So that'll be.
And I wonder if this is going to be. Sorry, I wonder if this is going to be the biggest game so far for Stephon Diggs. I think he's a guy that with the way he can run routes, he's almost like a man beater, like all by himself. And so I wonder if that's going to be a game where they can get involved more than they have.
Well, he did talk this week about how he's kind of still ramping up off the injury, and there's certain parts of just getting back to it that you need game action to do, which is the case for most injuries in most sports. So I would hope they continue to get. I thought he was better in week 2 than week 1, and I would hope that trend continues at least for the first month and a half, till he's about a year out from that injury, and then maybe it levels out more. But I'm with you on that. The one other thing, you mentioned some of the similarities with the Raiders and the pass rush, and how you handle that. So if you remember week 1, and I harped on this repeatedly because I don't know why, it just annoyed me so much. They didn't run the ball to the right side. And as much as they struggled to run the ball, they only ran the ball to the left. They ran once to the right side. That was it the entire game. Now, they abandoned the run after 13 carries. So hopefully they've learned their lesson about that and they continue to do it more. But the Steelers this year are allowing 6 yards per carry to the left, which is away from TJ Watt. 2.5 yards per carry to the right, where TJ Watt is. And I mean, they've really been gashed off that left side, but do we see a correction where they start kind of putting more assets to that side, knowing with TJ Watt that he can handle himself on the backside? So I want to see them still vary the run and still run to the right side and still run between the tackles and not get away from it if it doesn't work right away. Because the run scheming does feel a little similar to Vegas. And I don't want to see them back themselves into a corner again. But again, I would think and I would hope, and based on some stuff Josh McDaniels said today, like they kind of learned that lesson in week 1 and saw what happened and realized that they got to stick with that at least a little more and adjust within the run game instead of the adjustment being getting rid of it.
Yeah, I wonder if this is going to be a big game for the tight ends too. Either whether they're running or passing. Like I could see them set it up where, early in the game they're putting a guy like Hunter Henry out there against TJ Watt, and it's like, what are they thinking? And then later in the game, they leak him out. They throw the ball over TJ Watt, and Hunter Henry catches a little dump off. He gets some yards after the catch. I could see something like that happening. So yeah, I think they got to really exploit TJ Watt's desire to get after the quarterback. I think he's going to be a guy that's going to want to, make his presence felt in terms of getting to Drake Maye and being the guy to sort of quiet down this young, exciting quarterback on his home field. And so, like, I think they really got to take advantage of that. And the way you can do that is to get those quick dump off passes and maybe sort of bait him into it. And you can set that up by, running to his side. He's probably not going to want to, shed a blocker and set the edge and stop the run. That's not really TJ Watt's game. That's not what makes him a defensive player of the year candidate. And so, yeah, try to exploit that. And then maybe early on, like you can get him, you can lull him into a sense of, I gotta make sure I keep the edge here. And then all of a sudden you leak them out and you get a little dump off. Maybe you get a big gain. So I'm looking for something like that to happen. If all goes well, I'm looking for something like that to happen on offense.
Just on top of that, because we did the podcast last week, and then after, we didn't talk about this. We had to talk about it on the radio. Will Campbell. So he's going to get Nate Herbig, mostly, probably some Jack Sawyer, little rookie on rookie matchup. That's more Highsmith's side. Is the expectation a little higher now for him? And he's been really good. When does the expectation shift to kind of what he's been doing as a blocker? The big thing for me with him is just get rid of the penalties. Like if he can just cut the penalties out, I mean, he's in great shape, but those do have to come down eventually. I've made this point a lot, and I'm going to continue to make it. If everybody could have just gotten over the arm length for 5 minutes in the spring, I would have, and I tried to tell you, and I would have told you my biggest concern was
you told me. No, I remember this.
I told you.
I listened to you, Barth. I am an Alex Barth listener.
Well, it's not that people didn't listen to me. It was just we couldn't get past the arm length. But the big problem was he started kind of developing a penalty problem last year. So I do want to see the penalties come down, but I don't know. Is it unfair that I don't know that Herbig's that much tougher than guys he's faced. I don't think Herbig's tougher than Malcolm Kuntz, for instance. And should we start ramping up the expectation for what Will Campbell will give us week to week at this point?
I don't think we should ramp it up just yet. I think we could keep
it.
I expect him to have a solid day, right? Like, I think that's the best we can hope for. He does have an issue, Barthy, with I know, like you talked about it with the false starts. He flinches. Like, it feels like he has a flinching problem. Like, it feels like even
and it's not just him. To be fair, Morgan Moses had 3 last week. There were a couple others, and the Dolphins were shifting. They were like shifting late on the line of scrimmage, which I think was throwing the Patriots offensive line off. Watch to see if the Steelers do that this week. I wonder if they look at the film and say, all right, the Dolphins got him a few times doing this. Let's put a few of these in for ours. But, Campbell, Moses, all, you're right. It's flinching. I don't think it's guys not knowing the snap count. It's not guys. They're reacting to something the defense is doing, which is not to excuse it, but there's a couple of different reasons a player can false start. A handful of these for the Patriots seem to be reacting to movement from the defense, including Campbell.
With Campbell, though, it doesn't even feel like he's it feels like it's like a tick almost. Like he just has to learn how to stay still at some point. It was like as a kid, he couldn't sit still. He was running around all over the place.
Can't wait to hit a guy.
He can't wait to bowl a guy over. And so, like, that's what it felt like. And Mike Vrabel, I know, defended him and said, like, I don't think that was a penalty with the one last week. But then our friend Michael Hurley tweeted, it's like, no, he clearly flinched. And so, he's got to watch that part of it. And so that's part of why I'm trying to, keep the expectations tempered. But I expect him to have a solid day. I am waiting for that week where, he sort of, I don't want to say hits the wall, because hits the wall implies that he's never going to get over it. But I'm just expecting that, like, welcome to the NFL moment, and I don't think we're going to
be a welcome to the NFL game.
I could have seen Alex Highsmith being that moment. I don't think that's going to come against Carolina. Maybe week 5 at Buffalo, going up against that defensive front, is going to be the moment where Will Campbell realizes, okay, now I'm really in the big leagues.
Yeah.
But I expect him to have a solid couple of weeks here.
Myles Garrett a few weeks after that, and I would imagine he's going to get a ton of help that week. But as much as we're kind of looking at that game as one the Patriots should win, that might be one they have to win, dealing with pressure off that side. One more thing on the offense. I know I just said that, but one more thing. I'm very interested to see how much Travion Henderson plays this week. He struggled in pass protection last week. There's no other way to put it. He multiple holds. He had a hold on special teams as well. A couple of pressures. Old Josh McDaniels, if you were a rookie running back and you made repeated mistakes, you were banished to the shadow realm for a month or more, right? Rookie running back would fumble and we wouldn't see him again for multiple games. A rookie running back would blow a pass protection assignment and we wouldn't see him again for multiple games. It's new Josh McDaniels. It's not under Bill Belichick. Travion Henderson is not your average rookie running back. He's obviously shown some very high level ability, but with what he showed in pass pro in a game where you're maybe leaving the running back to block a little bit more, I don't think he's going to get benched. Let me be clear about that. I don't think he's going to get benched. But do we see a noticeable decrease in snaps after last week? And is it just a lot more Ramondre Stevenson, which I don't want? I don't want them running him into the ground. Is it more Antonio Gibson, which is something I would be more open to? I really think it should be the 3 of them in a rotation in general. But I think it's going to be kind of telling about their approach to these rookies based off what Henderson is asked to do this week.
Well, look, I think the usage of Henderson has really, in many ways, boiled down to how he's used as a pass protector, which in week 1, he wasn't used at all as a pass protector. And I feel like we saw why in week 2. He only plays 2 or 3 snaps in that role and gives up a sack. And he's not even holding his own against these guys. So he obviously has a learning curve. I know he came into the league. I thought he was NFL ready as a pass protector, but apparently he has to get used to the level of speed and power that's going to be coming off the edge against him, and having to pick up blitzes and chop block guys down. And he's got to get used to that. So I don't know how he can get used to it without getting into the games, but it just feels a little early to be putting him in there. I expect him to still be used, as a target. I expect him to get the ball in space. I expect him to get the ball as a receiver out of the backfield. I expect them to use him more just as an offensive weapon, not necessarily as staying back as a pass protector. Like, I feel like they're going to have to find other ways to do that. But, we talk about beating man coverage. Like, there was a play last week against the Dolphins. Our friend Taylor Kyles pointed this out and got a shout out from Mike Vrabel. Mike Vrabel took notice of that they did that pick play crossing route thing. And Travion Henderson was wide open, but Stephon Diggs missed he blocked the wrong guy. And so the guy, he tracked him down and made the tackle. Otherwise, it could have been a big play if Stephon Diggs made the right block there. So, you wonder if they're going to watch the film and then go look at the Steelers and say, look, we can execute this against this team. Like, let's just block the right guy this time, and then we'll break off a big play. So I feel like Travion Henderson's still going to get chances to make plays, as a target in the passing game, especially getting the ball in space and things like that. And, scheming him open like we were just talking about. But as a pass protector, he's got a long way to go. So I don't expect to see him in that role for a little while.
All right, you want to talk defense?
Let's talk defense, Barth.
We got to start with Aaron Rodgers, obviously. So here's what Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, I think so. Because it kind of sets the stage for all this. Here's what Aaron Rodgers can still do. He can still sling the rock. He can still throw that football all over the place. He'll put it in any window. He can access all the parts of the field. Still arm tremendous at this age. The mobility and the ability to create off script and extend plays is not what it was. He has been pretty quick, under pressure to kind of throw the ball away, take sacks, things like that. If you pressure him, he's not going to do some of the magic he used to do. That's now, maybe he's saved, right? Some guys just have a hair across their ass for certain teams, and he killed the Patriots last year, and maybe he breaks it out this week, but he hasn't been doing that the first couple of weeks. I think, and we talked about this in the recap show, the Patriots' ability to get pressure with 4 has been inconsistent. Big week to get pressure with 4, because you don't want to give Rodgers obvious one-on-one matchups that he can exploit, but you do need to put pressure on him. So Milton Williams for him to continue what he's doing, Harold Landry to continue what he's doing, Caleb on Chase on to build on last week, Christian Barmore, who's been the guy that's getting the bulk of the attention. I'm still waiting for that to change with what Milton Williams is doing. And then obviously it will be Barmore's turn to turn it on, but maybe the teams are just going to stick with Barmore. They're that afraid, but the defensive line to me will go a long way in dictating this game. If those guys can do what they need to do on their own without significant help, without too much of the blitz. You can blitz here and there, obviously, but you're not going to blitz Aaron Rodgers a ton like they did to Geno, and they probably shouldn't have done it to Geno, but you're not going to fool Aaron Rodgers. You're not going to spin the dial and rotate coverage and send, unidentified blitzers and sim pressure. Like, he's seen all of it. You're not going to fluster him. So it's up to those 4 guys up front. I think if you can get pressure with them, that's a major, major, major factor in this game. If Aaron Rodgers is throwing from clean pockets, well, now you got to pick, do you send more pressure and risk some one-on-ones with a secondary that struggled, and we'll get to that, or do you just kind of wait and see if your front can get something more? That's going to be something early to watch in this game to see how they establish that.
Yeah, honestly, I'm interested to see how they choose to cover it and whether they send extra rushers, because I think that is going to dictate how quickly Aaron Rodgers gets rid of the ball. Because I think historically he tends to hold the ball, and I know in the past in his prime he'd be able to escape the pocket and buy time that way. Now he can't really do that so much. He doesn't have the same mobility he used to have. I wonder if the processing is there. Like, I know he can hit a guy quickly if you give it to him. You give him an obvious read. But yeah, I feel like they're going to have a little more time to get to him than they did in the first couple of weeks, because Geno Smith and then Tua Tagovailoa, their games are almost predicated on getting rid of the ball quickly. That has never really been Aaron Rodgers' MO, is to get rid of the ball quick. I know he's capable of it because he's been one of the best quarterbacks in the league in his career. He's one of the best of his generation. I know he can do that, but Aaron Rodgers wants to push the ball down the field. He wants to make big plays. He wants to hit a backbreaker. And I think he still wants to do that. We've seen that. He could still do it with his arm. The arm talent's still there. But I really want to see them continue to try to get pressure with 4. And the guys you mentioned, Landry, Williams, Barmore, Chase on, that feels like they're 4. Get there with 4. It feels like you're going to have an extra half second to a second to get to him because it's Aaron Rodgers. He's going to want to hold it a little extra longer to make the play down the field. So I hope you can really get to him. If they can't, if that if the offensive line for the Steelers can hold up and keep the pocket clean, like they're going to be in real trouble because we know what Aaron Rodgers is capable of. But I feel like if they can just get that extra half second to get through and get to Rodgers in the pocket, he's going to hold the ball, and I feel like they're going to be able to get some sacks and get some negative plays. And so it's going to be a lot on those guys to get pressure with 4. But it's also they got to marry it with the coverage too, right? Like you don't want to get too aggressive against this guy for the reasons you said. And you don't want to get too far down the field either. You don't want to give him easy ones in the intermediate areas either, right? And I know we're probably going to talk about Christian Gonzalez at some point. If they get Gonzalez back on the field, that'll be a huge help, especially with a guy like DK Metcalf. But yeah, like you're right. It's all about getting pressure up front with just the 4 guys. And I do like their chances of doing that because of Aaron Rodgers' his desire to make bigger plays down the field and the fact that he's not going to be able to escape the pocket. And that they're going to have, I think, a little extra half second than they had in the first 2 weeks to get to him. So I'm really putting the expectations on those guys to get to Rodgers and really predicate the defense on Sunday.
Well, at the same time, though, you mentioned that you don't want to give him the underneath stuff either. And between Calvin Austin, Jonnu Smith, their running backs, Jalen Warren, like these guys can create after the catch. And if you're going to struggle tackling again, and obviously that shouldn't be the plan, but you can't get eaten alive that way either. So that goes to how do you match it up? You brought that up. I think it's really important in this game. I think Christian Gonzalez is going to play. There's no inside information there. I'm only saying that because he's practiced 2 days this week. And I think that if they were worried about it, hamstring can be one of those things where you're not going to know immediately after you return how you're feeling, right? That's one of those things where, all right, you did practice. Now go get your treatment, go through a normal day, go home, go to bed, wake up tomorrow. How do you feel?
Yeah.
And clearly felt good enough to practice today, which is encouraging. So, if they have Gonzalez, it's Metcalf. The Steelers really rarely use 3 receivers. It's Arthur Smith. He loves his tight ends. He's going to get 2-3 tight ends on the field if he can. Their tight end room is loaded. They've got Pat Freiermuth, who's a good player. They've got Darnell Washington, who, if you remember a couple years ago from the draft, guy was really big into. It's kind of like a tackle size tight end, moves incredibly well for his size, a jump ball threat, can block in the run game. I know Anthony Jennings beat the crap out of him in that game on Thursday night a couple years ago, but he's been much better since. And then Jonnu Smith, who's 900-yard receiver last year, which people forget. So they want to get those tight ends involved. DK Metcalf on one side is obviously a threat. He's a good player. That's Gonzalez or Davis, whatever you're going to do. On the other side is Calvin Austin. Even if you have Gonzalez on Metcalf, this might be another one of those games where Marcus Jones should be able to cover Calvin Austin. Calvin Austin's more of a speed player. And now you can get Carlton Davis on Pat Freiermuth. Now, if you don't have Gonzalez, it's Carlton Davis on DK Metcalf, and that's should be non-negotiable. I really hope it's Marcus Jones on Austin, on Calvin Austin, and not Alex Austin on Calvin Austin, because we saw last week Alex Austin cannot cover these twitchy speed guys. That's not his game. He's more to cover the big physical jump ball receivers.
Sure.
So we'll see what happens there. The most important one to me, though, is who handles the middle of the field in zone, who handles the running back. So I've gotten questioned a lot this week. It was in the Patriots mailbag, which you can check out on 985thesportshub.com. I get this question in 2 ways. And I think, let's be clear, these are 2 different questions. What is wrong with the Patriots secondary, and what is wrong with the Patriots in coverage? Because those are 2 different questions with 2 different answers. They're related, but they're not the same. What's wrong with the Patriots secondary? They don't have Christian Gonzalez. Without him, there's not a lot of speed. They're getting beat by mismatches against speedy teams. That's what's wrong. So, okay, but like you hear that, you think, okay, good. Christian Gonzalez will come back. It will solve everything. It won't. Because what's wrong with the Patriots? Coverage, big picture, on top of getting mismatched at corner, their linebackers are getting beat badly. Robert Spillane and Christian Ellis, just the 2 of them, have allowed almost 35% of all passing yards against the Patriots, according to PFF. And nobody's asking those guys to be Fred Warner, right? They don't need to be shut down coverage guys. That's not who they are. They need to be better than that. And what's exacerbating it is the issues with tackling. So this is another one where everybody points to the Patriots tackling being an issue. And Overarchingly, yes, it is. I think you had the number. They're first or second in the league in missed tackle rate. I know you went through and because PFF doesn't give us the team stats, you did the arduous task of calculating that yourself.
Yeah,
you remember
only
the number off the top of your head?
Only the Vikings had more missed tackles. I think the Patriots have 25.
Okay, yeah.
And the Seahawks, actually, you just played the Steelers last week, were just behind the Patriots, I think 24.
So,
but yeah, like Spillane and Ellis are top 2 in the league individually.
Correct. So Spillane actually has more missed tackles than made tackles. It's 8-7. And
yeah, no, he has a miss rate of 53%.
Correct.
According to PFF.
Nobody on the Patriots has more than 2 missed tackles outside of those two guys. So it's not great big picture. And there are other guys who have missed tackles you want them to make, but they need to clean up the tackling problem. That's kind of just 2 guys. Like if those 2 figure it out, and especially Spillane, who the last 2 years playing over 1,000 snaps, both seasons had a missed tackle rate of 9%. And again, he's now up over 50. Like when he comes down, he's accounting for so many of those missed tackles because he's at the point of attack and he's a middle linebacker. Defenses are putting him in conflict. Like that's going to help it so much. So it's going to be interesting to see, Rodgers will throw to the running backs. To your point, if you sit on that deep stuff, he'll pick you apart. He wants to go deep, but he'll be patient and pick you apart. Who's covering Jaylen Warren or the tight ends when they go in the middle of the field? Is it Spillane again and they give him another shot? Because he's been a better coverage linebacker than he's been. He's never been a primary coverage linebacker. Do they give Christian Ellis another shot, who is supposed to be a coverage linebacker who struggled? The other one, do they add another safety, especially with the multi-tight end sets? Is this maybe where we see the resurgence of Kyle Duggar? So an interesting note this week. The Patriots, in the past, when they do scout team, and Dolph, you've been down there, you've seen this. Like, you wear your normal jersey out to practice, and then, so for instance, last week, whoever was playing Tyreek Hill would put on a penny that had a 10 on it, and that's how you know it was Tyreek Hill.
That was Kyle Williams last week.
Well, so except this year, the guy just wears a different jersey. So they used to not put the pennies in until after we were gone from practice. And, we might see pictures of it or video, but like we didn't really get to see it. Certainly not before the game. Now it's just, so Kyle Williams was doing it, but he was just wearing a number 10 jersey. Like there was no penny. So to bring this back to the point, Kyle Duggar's been wearing, he was the scout team player the first 2 weeks. He's been wearing number 23 at practice this week. And I don't think he's simulating Darius Slay, who wears 23 for the Steelers. Yeah. So maybe a sign. Take that could mean nothing. I could be looking too far into it. Maybe he's just not a fit for anything they're doing on the scout team. So they said, don't worry about it this week. This is just me guessing. But he's wearing his own number this week. Could that mean he's a bigger part of the game plan? Just a thought.
I could see that, and like that actually is interesting that you mentioned that, Barth, because what I was going to say about Spillane that I haven't liked, I feel like they haven't used him. They haven't put him in position to succeed. I think for his skill set, I think his skill set is really closing on the ball and like reacting quickly and closing and tackling quickly. He's not a guy that like stay back in space and then react and then close after the catch. Like he's meant to like close in on the guy as fast as he can, like a homing missile. And like I think the problem was last week, like you saw Devon Achane get the ball and like he's gonna juke Robert Spillane. That's one of the fastest players in the league. Robert Spillane's not gonna tackle Devon Achane when Devon Achane has a head of steam coming at him. So like I feel like they gotta figure out better ways to use Robert Spillane, whether it's closing in on gaps or just closing in on the ball carrier. And that's interesting that you say that too, because that's part of Kyle Duggar's skill set. I think that's what Kyle Duggar is great at, is diagnosing the ball carrier, especially on running plays and short passing plays, and diagnosing quickly and closing quickly to make a tackle. Like I know they've been sort of resistant to maybe trying Kyle Duggar in more of a linebacker type role or like a hybrid safety linebacker type role. But this might be the week to try to do it because they really got to do something different with the way they've even used the linebackers. I know the linebacker talent isn't what we want it to be, but it just sort of is what it is. Nobody's coming to rescue this linebacker core right now. And I just feel like they haven't been used exactly like I thought they would be used this year. I thought Spillane was going to be a guy that would be more reacting quickly to the ball carrier rather than like staying back and trying to tackle a guy when he's over the middle of the field and in open space like that. Like, I just wonder if they're going to start to use those guys differently, but like maybe they just start incorporating Duggar into the game plan more. I kind of like that idea.
I wouldn't rule it out. So couple thoughts on the defense. You got anything else there?
Yeah, I mean, let's go look at last year. when DK Metcalf came here as a member of the Seahawks, they barely even put Gonzalez on him. So like I wonder if like they're just gonna put Gonzalez on Metcalf every play and just be like, just go to town, just take him out of the game. And so that'll be, that's gonna make a huge difference. It obviously does. And like that's I know they're all the belly aching about the Patriots secondary. They haven't had an all-pro corner out there. And like I know, like I was saying, like they should have been able to beat the Raiders without Gonzalez. I wasn't saying that about the Dolphins. I thought they were kind of in trouble on defense against the Dolphins without Gonzalez out there against those pass catchers and all that speed. And I know it's a little different with the Steelers. They don't have quite the kind of speed and playmaking that the Dolphins have at the receiver positions, but they do have Metcalf, and so it's obviously logical to put Gonzalez on him. And I feel like everything else can sort of fall in place. And so as long as they get Gonzalez back, and like we said earlier, if they can get some pressure with 4, I feel pretty good about the defense. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if this turns into a shootout between Maye and Rodgers. That could be fun to watch.
Yeah, we will see what happens with that. Any thoughts on special teams? Steelers had a big kickoff whiff last week. They forgot to pick the ball up in the end zone. Obviously, the Patriots allowed a punt return touchdown. This does feel, again, special teams looms large. The Patriots have been one of the best teams in terms of the average starting position for, average starting against off the kickoff. I don't know what it's going to be like. I find it tough to say what it's going to be, but it seems like with this new kickoff rule and just the way the Patriots are playing as a whole, special teams is going to hang big. Maybe it's Andy Borgalis, and that's another one. We'll see how he bounces back, misses the 2 kicks, gets the vote of confidence from Mike Vrabel, gets the game ball. Is that are the rookie jitters to bed, or do we see more issues from Borgalis too? Like, again, with special teams, it's just kind of all of it. It's hard to pick one thing to watch because it's been such a fascinating unit through 2 games.
Yeah, I mean, he's got to hit the landing zone too, right? You don't want to miss the landing zone against Aaron Rodgers, especially in a close late situation. You don't want to give him a short field. But yeah, like look, the punt return touchdown that they gave up last week was an execution issue. It was Brendan Schooler whiffing on a tackle. Charles Woods can't bring him down even when he has him almost wrapped up. The Steelers with I think it was the rookie running back Caleb Johnson that just like let the ball roll into the end zone. After whatever that play was, that was a mental error, and so you got to hope that happens again. You got to hope they continue to have mental errors like that because you can't excuse away the mental errors. The physical errors are one thing. It's like, all right, you just got to clean up your tackling there. It's a little simpler than what the Steelers are dealing with, where they don't know what's going on. They don't know the game situation. You really hope that they aren't in tune with the situation because that'll be a huge help for them. Because but the Patriots, I feel like it's more about physical execution, and so. Hopefully, Borgalis can physically kick the ball into the landing zone, and they can go from there.
We'll see what happens with that. Any other thoughts on this game? Wow, we're almost at 40 minutes. This is a good pod, Dolph. That flew by.
I got no other thoughts, Barth. Let's get out of here.
Got no other thoughts. I think throwback game. Throwback game for those who don't know. Patriots jersey. So I don't know. No take on that. Just enjoy it. I'm glad they're still doing this twice a year. I think that's the right amount. Bring back the white throwbacks at some point. But
I love the helmets, especially. So yeah, I'm excited to see those.
Well, and it's, in the past, you'd see them at practice and you'd kind of see them all week. But now they wear the Guardian caps. It almost feels like a couple guys don't have them on, but it feels like there's more of a reveal coming. So throwback week for those of you who are into that sort of thing, that'll be this week. I know some people at Station are certainly. So I'd like to think some of our listeners and viewers are as well. We will be back on Monday. We will have our recap show. We'll have this show. We'll also have the pod with David Andrews on Monday as well. You can get both of those wherever you get your podcasts. Subscribe to the Patriots Hub Podcast. You can also get them on the Sports Hub YouTube channel. I will be back on Sunday morning as well. Sunday kickoff with Throne Battle, 8 to 10 a.m. You know the deal on that one. Looking forward to breaking this game down with him. I saw he had some interesting Drake Maye, Aaron Rodgers takes on Twitter this week that we'll get into. Looking forward to breaking that down with him more. Dolloff, meanwhile, I appreciate him doing the quick turnaround of football here because he's been Matty Pucks today over at the Starter Bruins camp. So
I have a list of takeaways coming later today.
There you go.
So
and you know how you've seen his takeaways from Patriots training camp, so you know he does a good job. You can check those out on 985thesportshub.com, where I will also have my game preview up on Friday morning. So go check out all that. Until the next one, for Matt Dolloff, I'm Alex Barth. Thanks for tuning in, and we will talk to you on Monday. Bye.